The other day I got a phone call. The phone rang at 6:30 in the morning. It's one of those phone calls that you get and you know because of the time of day that you get it that it's not going to be good news. And it was my dad calling me. My aunt had passed away at 91 years of age. She lived a really good life, a long life, had 4 sons, 3 daughters. She had 14 grandchildren and 16 great-grandchildren. As arrangements were being made for the funeral, I finished the MCrider video for that week. That involved a couple of late nights to get the video done, and then I scheduled it to go live last Friday morning at 8 a.m. as usual. I live quite a distance from my family, and the plan was for me to ride to Blytheville, Arkansas, where I would pick up my dad and he and I would go to the funeral in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Now, I've made that drive back and forth to Blytheville on motorcycle and a car more times than I care to count. And if I'm by myself, I will generally take the motorcycle. That's my normal means of transportation. So I started to plan my ride to and from Blytheville. Now, if I drive, I generally take the interstates, and this is what the route looks like if I drive. But if I'm on my motorcycle, I usually head up through northwest Arkansas, take the scenic route, which adds a few hours to my drive. But no matter how you look at it, the shortest distance between here and there, if you're driving, is going to take every bit of 9 hours to get there. But after looking at the route and realizing that I really just needed to get there, I decided to go the shortest route possible on my motorcycle and just stick to the interstates. In addition to completing the MCrider video for that week, it's also the end of the school year for my 2 girls, so there were a lot of school events to attend, concerts to go to, art demonstrations to attend. So all of those things were adding to my to-do list before I got on the road to be with family. The day before I was to leave for the trip was Mother's Day, so I spent that morning and afternoon with my wife and 2 girls. We went out to eat and we did some fun stuff together and just kind of hung out. That afternoon when we got back to the house, I decided to wash and wax the Road King, get it shined up for the road trip, and then do all the checks that you need to before you head out on the road. Check the oil, check your tire pressure, make sure the tires are in good shape. Just give the bike a once-over, because a 9-hour ride on a motorcycle is pretty significant, and you want to make sure that the bike's in good shape before you head out. So around 7:30 p.m. that evening, I sat down at the computer and I found my aunt's obituary online. And I looked at all the cousins that were going to be at the funeral and all the family that was going to be there. Started reminiscing about all the younger years and the good times we'd had together. In particular, my cousin Rob, he and I were about the same age, and we'd go to visit them at their house in Cape Girardeau. And first thing he and I would do is head off to the creek that was near their house, and we'd spend all day running up and down that creek. Sometimes we'd go over to my cousin's house and we'd jump on their trampoline, and I wondered how we never broke our necks jumping up and down on that trampoline the way that we did. So it was a little after 8 before I ever sat down to eat, and it was about 8:45 before I started packing for my trip. So I had the bike ready, but I didn't have clothes packed yet. So I started packing clothes, and as usual on a trip, I realized I was missing something. So I hopped in my truck and I headed over to Walmart about 9 p.m. that evening. So as I was walking around the store at little after 9 p.m. in the evening, it really hit me how tired I was. Everything I'd done to gear up for this trip and get ready for the trip, and I really wasn't looking forward to a 9-hour ride in the heat on the interstate all the way to Blytheville the next morning. So I went home and I did something that I rarely do. I told my wife that instead of taking the motorcycle, I was going to drive the truck. A 9-hour trip in one day on a motorcycle can give you a lot of time to think. And particularly when life takes a turn like this, you can get lost in your thoughts rather than focusing on the road or what's going on around you. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, is riding with stress, and how sometimes it's better not to take the motorcycle and to find another way to get there. Ultimately, if I took the truck, I'd have a seat belt and I'd have some airbags to protect me. I could stock up on junk food and sodas to help keep me awake. And if I got too tired, I could pull over at a gas station and take a little 15-minute nap, which I did on the way there. And I could listen to music and radio and things to help keep me entertained and to help keep me focused while I'm riding down the road. It's pretty much common sense, the effect that fatigue can have on your riding. But a lot of times, if you're like me and you're a creature of habit, just a motorcycle is your means of transportation. And too often we forget about the mental state that we need before we head out on a motorcycle. So I did a little research on the effects of fatigue in riding, and I've actually found out that being fatigued on a motorcycle can be about as dangerous as riding while intoxicated. Some other things that I found: the effects of fatigue on riding affects your concentration. You can get drowsy while you're riding. It slows your reaction time. Your eyes get sore and tired. Your boredom increases as you're fatigued on a motorcycle. You start feeling irritable and restless. You make fewer and larger steering corrections as you're going down the road. You start missing road signs, and you have difficulty staying in your lane. Add to that, in my case, the loss of a family member was going to affect my thoughts and my concentration and would have increased my odds of being involved in an incident. It's one of the goals of MCrider to help promote travel by motorcycle, because I firmly believe there's no better way to get from point A to point B than on the seat of a motorcycle, because a lot of times you'll find a whole lot of other points in between. But I also want to encourage you guys to listen to your inner voice, to listen to your body, and know when it's time to find another means of transportation. So if you're riding stressed or you're riding tired, whether it's family stress or it's stress from work, you've had a bad day at work or a rough time going on at work, sometimes it's better to find another means of transportation until you can get your head right and you can devote your full attention to riding on two wheels. So listen to that inner voice. Know when it's time to ride the bike, and know when it's time to park the bike and live to ride another day. I really want to thank you guys for being such a fantastic audience of MCrider. You guys provide tons of comments and feedback to me on YouTube and Facebook, and I know I can't reply to all those comments, but I do read all of them. And you guys help encourage me and give me ideas for future videos by asking questions or things that you're still struggling with. I also want to thank you guys that chime in, that'll help answer some riders' questions. We have a lot of good, experienced riders on this forum and on MCrider, and you guys provide a lot of valuable feedback, and I learn from you guys as well in some of the comments that you leave. So I want to thank you guys for your contribution to MCrider and let you know that it doesn't go unnoticed, and your contribution is helping make this a better community, and in a sense helping the motorcycle community as whole ride a little bit safer. So I wanted to say thank you guys for that. So the next time you get ready to get on the motorcycle and head somewhere, if your body's telling you, man, I'm tired, I need some rest, maybe you should listen to yourself. Maybe you should listen to that inner voice and decide, hey, I'll leave the bike here this time and I'll take the car, or I'll find another means of transportation. Until next week, guys, this is Kevin with MCrider, and we'll see you on the road. MCrider is supported by our friends on Patreon. To learn how to support MCrider and get access to the field guide, go to mcrider.com/support.